This pandemic was something that was not adequately planned for. There was no rule book on how to handle all the concerns in 2020. But most of the public would agree that we will get through this. So what do you see as the first steps that need to be taken in a post-COVID world to get back to what was considered a new normal? Do you see any changes that might become permanent fixtures of our life in the future?
Let me see if I can remember all those points you made. But let me start out with, I don't accept your premise.
Okay.
And your premise was there was no rule book. There was a rule book, and they threw it away, the Trump administration. The Obama administration had a rule book. They gave it to the Trump administration. They had an office in the White House set up to deal with pandemics. They eliminated it. So, I want to work with my Republican colleagues, but I don't want to buy their argument that there was no rule book. This is not like this. We had Ebola. Ebola is a more deadly disease than coronavirus, and we've lost almost 200,000 people. By probably a couple of weeks from now, or maybe even sooner, we'll hit 200,000. Tragic deaths in America. 50 times what we lost. 60 times what we lost on 9/11. So there was a rule book and they threw it away. And unfortunately, we now see in the Woodward book and the Woodward tapes, the president said at the end of January, this is a very dangerous disease. But what did he tell the American people? This is a hoax. Everybody knows that. And if I tell you that's a hoax, you don't worry about it. You think it's a hoax, it's just somebody telling me something. It was not a hoax. And those 200,000 lost lives and those millions of people who got sick, they know it wasn't a hoax. On Ebola, 1 death or 2, less than 5 deaths. I think it was 1 or 2 deaths in the United States. Why? Because the Obama administration immediately deployed to Africa a containment team that helped contain it so it did not come to the United States of America. President Trump, for whatever reasons, he says, I didn't want to scare people. I agree with that. You don't want to create panic. But what he should have immediately done is put in place the wash your hands, keep your distance, as you and I we're 8 feet apart here. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you wear your mask. We're not wearing the mask, but we're keeping our distance.
Right.
But when I came in here, I had a mask on and you had a mask on, and we said hello, because we were close. I don't really know, and I don't think anybody will ever know. But for essentially 3 to 4 weeks, we pretended that this was not as virulent, as dangerous as it turned out to be. I think we're going to make some significant changes. First of all, I think we need to be making critical health items, whether it's PPE, the masks and gloves and things of that nature, or medicines, or other things that we need, ventilators. We need to make them in America. I've had an agenda for over 10 years, make it in America.
That's the next question. We'll get to that.
I think that's going to change how we do things. I think you're going to see a lot of legislation. We're putting some bills on the floor next week that deal with making strategic items here in America so we're not dependent upon China or somebody in Europe or somebody someplace else. Because America, we can make anything we want to make. Mm-hmm. We have the skills and the talent of workforce. We can make it in America. And that's what we need to do. You asked me also what changes?
Yes. What changes do you see that might be permanent fixtures for the future?
I don't know about you. I'd used maybe Zoom 5 or 6 times before March. I use Zoom every day now.
Every day.
And what I found, it's not like being in the room here.
No.
That's the best, right? But if I talk to you on Zoom as opposed to talking to you on the telephone, it's a much better conversation. I see you smile, I see you frown, yes, you agree. No, I don't. You see one another. You feel like I tell people, we may not be in the same room, but we're in the same box.
Right.
So I think that's going to change. I think people are going to do that more and more because, it's so efficient. I don't have to buy an airplane ticket to go to Wisconsin, just to pick a state out of the blue, or California or Florida. I just get on the Zoom and I'm there.
Right.
So I think that's going to change the way we do business. Probably going to change the way you do reporting. And frankly, it's changing the way you do reporting now because you look at these national shows, a lot of people in their living rooms.
Right.
Or in their kitchen or wherever they are. And they're talking to that camera. And you feel like they're talking to you because they are. And I think that was true in some instances, but now it is ubiquitous. And the Saturday Night Live or something like that, or the shows that 11:30 come on at night on 4 and 7 and 9. They're all in their Letterman. Letterman's
Everyone's
no
at
longer
home. Yeah.
opera. They're in there, and I think that's going to change the way we do business because it's so efficient. Now, there's nothing that replaces, in my view, personal contact, being in this room together, sitting around this table. But if you can't do that, either because you're too far away or because you have an illness yourself and you don't want to infect anybody, a cold, a fever, or whatever, you can be there on the Zoom. So I think that will change. Now, what do we need? One of the things we need is what we're doing right now, and hopefully we're going to do in the next couple of weeks. Make sure those businesses are still alive. And then when we get back to normal, and normal is going to be post-vaccine or post a very effective therapeutic that people have confidence if they get sick, they'll get well. Those two things. When we get there, then I think businesses can operate again. But we need to keep those businesses viable until that happens. And the sooner it happens, the better. Just like the sooner we get kids back to school, the better. But every one of the counties that I represent, by vote of the elected school boards, not Congress, by vote of the local school board, said we want to be virtual because we want to make sure our kids are safe. And we want to make sure our kids don't go to school with heavens knows what the other kids have been doing, come home and make their parents or their grandparents sick. Or their siblings, young siblings. So I think, in answer to your question, we got to defeat the virus. We got to keep businesses going until that time. Maybe not everyone, but as many as we can. And then make sure, from a tax standpoint, regulatory standpoint, that they can get back to business and doing business and revitalizing our economy.
It's an unfortunate situation that we all had to go through this year, and unfortunately we had a lot of people who suffered through it. But it's going to be a learning experience, and I think we're going to come out of the other side stronger, much more aware in how to handle and tackle these situations in the future. And luckily the medical professionals, they're doing a fantastic job of how to treat the disease. And as infections and hospitalizations and the death rates continue to trend downwards, consumer confidence will continue to grow, businesses will start to open back up, and I do believe that we'll come back to normalcy. Now again, we're in this whole situation, and I've seen it through social media, through friends and family. A lot of citizens have been taking it upon themselves to do the little things better. Like, how can they boost their immune systems? How can they better take care of themselves, their family, their friends, helping each other out, and they're paying attention to their own personal health, which those benefits will ultimately help with the health industry later on. It'll help the health security of our country, and it'll help in general. But I do think that there are going to be some changes that have been implemented that are going to take a little more of a permanent change, and that is, we've seen a lot with a lot of companies and businesses that started transitioning and allowing for teleworking and telehealth. I do see those maintaining and working through the future, and with that too, you're going to see possibly a little bit less with transportation from that too. More people will be able to work from home. They may be able to live in different areas and afford and have moved to different areas with more affordable housing to accommodate for those too. And so I do see that being one of the more long-term things that I do see being a little more permanent in the workforce. But again, with more teleworking, it's going to be the need for secure the infrastructure within our country with our internet broadband access for everybody. So we need to make sure that we are doing our best to make sure that we're not letting anybody lag behind in that aspect, that we're allowing people to prosper based on that. And again, with us in our district here in the 5th District, we have a lot of military bases, we have a lot of government contractors, so making sure that that infrastructure, that it is maintained, that the data is secure. So we have to do a lot of work in that regards too, to making sure that those who may be working from home, who are government contractors, who may be working in the military, that we're protecting that data at all costs too.
Thank you.
Thank you.